come on, Maria. I heard Joe's annoying voice. My best friend and also my roommate. Let's go out today. I sighed as I rubbed my temples with my hands. Joe, I called as I turned to face her, only to see her sitting in a weird position on her couch. We have been arguing about this for about 2 hours now. When are you going to give up? Never. I rolled my eyes at her and then proceeded to stare at my laptop screen. I have been trying to continue the teen fiction story I have been writing since last year. All to no avail. When I type about 2 sentences and I reread them, they look weird in my head, and then that leads me to deleting them and ending up with a blank screen. You have been staring at that screen for the past 3 hours, and I am sure you've not written anything. Well, that is true. I groaned as I shut down my laptop, and then turned to face Joe again, only to see her already staring at him with one of her finger eyebrow raised at me. Fine. We'll go to wherever you want. Only because I have not written anything in my book, and because you are my best friend. Yay. She squealed, and then stood up from the blue couch to drag me away from the dining table where I was trying to update my book. Come on, let's go get dressed. Plus you might see one hottie to have a shag with. She winked. I rolled my eyes at her excitement, but followed her anyway. I don't know what I would do with her. About 45 minutes later we were both already dressed. I picked well. Joe picked the cloth cause she said, and I quote, "You look stunning and hot combined together." I was wearing a red backless gown that reached my mid-thigh coupled with black heels. Joe also did my makeup. Joe wore the same gown. I wore only that hers was green, and she was with a heavy makeup, though it fitted her perfectly. Joe had a nice shape. She had large breasts and buttocks, making the cloth look nice on her body, while I was the opposite of her, slim with average breasts and buttocks. We were opposites in everything. We never preferred the same stuffs. While I liked orange juice, she preferred apple juice, and while I preferred not eating boiled egg, she loved egg. The list could go on and on. I look hot, she said to herself as she twirled at the front of the long lengthened mirror. Don't I? She turned to me, but before I could reply, she said, never mind. It was a rhetorical question, making me chuckle. The amount of confidence you have in yourself surprises me, I said, as I put the necessary stuffs I needed into my black shoulder bag. Someone has got to do the praising. She winked at me through the mirror as I shook my head chuckling. Let's go. She picked up her white purse from her bed as we both heard the horn of the taxi from outside. Fun time. Joe screamed it, but she deepened her voice, making it sound manly as we entered the taxi. I am very sure the man was confused for both of us. The cab made a stop, and we both got down from the cab, but not before thanking him and paying him. Neon lights. The huge signboard read as it glowed in the dark with pink and blue lights. I heard about it at work when some of my colleagues were talking about it. I heard it is a young guy, well, about our age that owns it. She told me as she was pulling me into the entrance of the club. We passed the long queue of people standing at the front of a huge black guy, the bouncer, as they presented their ID. I thought you said this was your first time coming here. I shouted over the loud music playing, and thankfully she heard me. I didn't say that. She shrugged as we both took a seat at the bar. You just assumed it, she smirked at me. This woman, please 4 shots please. She smiled too sweetly at the bartender, and he returned the smile with a forced one. Poor guy. Stop flirting with him, I said as I hit her arm when the guy was already out of hearing vicinity. She placed her perfect manicured hands on her chest, and then gasped. I was not, I chuckled. You definitely was flirting with him. He looks younger than us. The guy came back and handed us our drinks and went back to attend to some other people, but not before Joe gave him a wink. I doubt that. She took a sip. Yes. He definitely is younger than us. I chuckled and drank my whole drink at once. Whoa. Calm down there, Tiger. You brought me here to have fun. That is what I am doing. I grinned as I downed the next drink. Nice. I like this spirit. She grinned and also took another shot. After about 5 shots each, I pulled Joe to the dance floor, both of us giggling and dancing together. Well, that was until I felt someone wrap his hands around my waist, and I could feel the person's hit breath fanning my neck. but I was too drunk to even care, and that was how I got separated from Joe. I woke up with my head pounding dangerously. I groaned as I rubbed my forehead with my eyes still closed. I sat uprightly on the bed and then relaxed, but I was naked. I never ever sleep naked. With that thought in my mind, my eyes flew open, and I took in the strange, expensive room I was in. I tried getting up from the bed with panic in me, but ended up falling from the bed due to the duvet, tangling with my leg and let out an oomph. Ouch! I stood up from the bed with the duvet wrapped around my body, and looked around the room, then noticed my clothes were scattered around the room alongside with some male clothing. This is all Joe's fault. I heard the water running from the bathroom, so the person is probably in having his bath. That should give me time to get out of here. I started putting on my clothes and then started looking for my panties, only to find them ripped apart. Then the memories of yesterday's event started rushing back. The drinks I had with Joe, dragging her to the dance floor, both of us dancing together until we got separated. Then kissing some random guy that started dancing with me. The events of last night got pretty hazy, and I can also remember getting into a black SUV, probably with the guy from the club. But I could not remember his face. Maybe that was how I got to his house or hotel or whatever this stupid fancy-looking place is. I heard when the water stopped running from the bathroom. I panicked as I used my eyes to quickly scan for my phone, but couldn't find it. In a hurry, I just picked up my purse from the bedside and sneaked out quickly before he came out. Don't ask me how I got home. I do not want to talk about it. Immediately I entered my apartment as usual. I didn't meet Joe at home. She is probably at work already. I dumped my shoes somewhere and then made my way up to my bathroom. I stripped myself out of my clothes and prepared a bath. After a few minutes, I was sure my bath was ready. I sat down. I sighed quietly as my mind went over what happened yesterday, trying so hard to remember who I went home with. The things alcohol do to you, the loud ring of our home telephone, was what woke me up from the nap I was having. I must have fallen asleep. I groaned as I stood up from the cold bath, and then wrapped a huge lilac towel around my body, and then patted my feet on the black rug. I made my way downstairs with the telephone, still ringing loudly from the kitchen counter. Would you stop ringing already? I groaned as I picked up the phone. Yes, Joe? I said into the phone. Well, 'cause she was the only one who knew our home telephone number. How do you know I was the one? She asked stupidly. I rolled my eyes before answering. Dummy, it is only both of us who knows the home telephone number. Oh, that is right, she replied then, followed by a groan. Hangover? Yes. She groaned one more time, and I could see her rubbing her fingers on the side of both her temples. Unlike Joe, no matter how much I drank, I never have hangover. Not everyone is lucky like you. Too bad for you. So, why did you call? I asked. Oh yay, right. I have been calling your phone, but you have not been picking up. I groaned as I moved to the kitchen and poured myself a cup of orange juice into a cup. Yee, long story. I took a sip from the juice. Bitch. Don't tell me you slept with someone, she gasped. Always as dramatic as ever. When I didn't reply her for like a minute, she gasped dramatically again. Oh, give me all the details. She sounded excited. I chuckled. You are at work when you get home, but I have time for Joe. The boss needs you. I heard someone say at the other end of the line. She sighed. Okay, you win. Immediately I get home, you are spilling all the juices. Sure. Bye. Bye. Love you. I love you too, I replied, and then she hung up. I downed the remaining juice in the cup down my throat, then poured myself another cup. I went up to my room and then put on some clothes. I wore a black graphic top that belonged to one of my ex-boyfriend and a gray sweatpants. I tied my hair into a rough bun, and then made my way back downstairs again to prepare what I was going to eat. By the time I had already finished preparing breakfast or lunch, whichever you want to call it, it was already around 2 p.m. I decided to continue to binge watch Teen Wolf and eat my breakfast. I took the cup of orange juice I had poured earlier and my plate of food to the living room and started eating. When I was tired, I decided to at least try to continue my book. And this time, I actually wrote something. But a different storyline. It has been a week since the incident in the club happened. The week was normal as usual, only that the new storyline I started has been moving well. Immediately I told Jo what happened the last time at the club. She has been on my back since the last time, saying she hopes I eventually meet the guy again. In which I do not want that to happen. That is even if I actually remember his face. I was presently sitting in a coffee shop with a cup of mocha and a plate of chocolate cookies at my front and my laptop. I had already written the prologue of the new book and 2 chapters in the span of a week. That is the fastest I have ever moved. I took a chip of cookie, and then I felt the urge to vomit what I had been eating. I stood up from the chair even though I felt a few stares on me. Immediately I entered into the toilet. All what I ate came out of my mouth. I had been vomiting a lot lately and sleeping. Though I did not tell Jo anything about it, because I know she is going to tell me to carry my ass to the hospital. And I hate hospitals. Imran. Who doesn't? I stood up from the squatting position I was in, and gagged to make sure that was everything. I flushed the toilet and closed it with the lid. I moved to the sink, and then washed my mouth to remove the horrible taste in it. I felt my phone vibrate at the back of my blue boyfriend jeans. Hello. What is wrong? I heard Jo's worried voice from the other end of the line. I am just feeling a little bit sick. What is up? I need your help. With what? I asked, as I adjusted my hair in the mirror and took in my appearance. I forgot an important file I need. In the office right now. Where did you leave it? I asked, as I made my way out of the bathroom. On the couch. I groaned, and then replied, Okay, I'll be there in 25 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. You are welcome. I smiled as I shouldered the phone, and then started packing my stuffs. I love you, bitch. I laughed before replying her also. Likewise. I got out of the coffee shop, but not before I told the girl behind the counter to pack my cookies in a bag for me. I entered into my car and drive straight home. Immediately I got inside. My eyes did a quick scan, and thankfully I found the file she was talking about. When I was about 10 minutes away from Jo's workplace, she called me again. Please? Tell me you found the file. I did, and I am on my way already. Thank you. Be quick, please. Yai, my boss is about to chop off my head. I chuckled, and then replied, Chop off your head? I thought you had sex with him. Well, yeah, we did. But the son of a bitch said he doesn't want to mix business with pleasure, and he never sleeps with any of his employees. I could hear the anger in her voice. But he did sleep with you. I laughed again. Son of a bitch. She cursed again. I will see you in your office. I told her and then hung up. I took the file from the passenger's seat and then made my way into the company. Jo has been working here for about 2 years now. Henry Holt and Co-Publishing Company. I looked so out of place in my white top and blue jeans with the way her other colleagues were dressed. Some of the few faces that were familiar. I greeted them and then made my way into the elevator. I heard the elevator ding as it opened and then made my way out of it. Jo's cubicle was the 5th one from the elevator. Hey, I greeted her as I took my seat on the chair opposite her. Thank goodness he has been on my neck for the past 45 minutes. I chuckled as she groaned as she stood up from her table and picked up the file. I will be back soon. Let me just drop the stupid file for him. I think he even has a visitor. She rolled her eyes and then left the office. I brought out my phone from my back pocket and scrolled through my Instagram feed and stories. I haven't posted in a long time. I had about 250 followers and only 2 posts. The sound of Jo arguing with someone who I think is her boss, and another male laughing, probably at them, made me stand up from my seat to check on her. Maria, how are you? I didn't know you were here. Philip smiled at me immediately. He saw me, stopping his bickering with Jo. And did I tell you they once dated? I gave him a small smile. Hanging in here, I replied. I started feeling sick again, but I did not want Jo and the others to be alarmed. So I just excused myself and made my way to the toilet. Immediately I got to the toilet, I vomited all over again. I thought that was all over in the coffee shop. I hate vomiting. It is always like my intestines are about to come out, spilling all over the toilet seat. I made my way to the sink and rinsed the bitter taste out of my mouth. Again, I sighed as I flushed the toilet and then put the lid over it. I dusted the imaginary dust off my clothes, and then made my way outside. Well, not technically outside, because I hit someone, and that someone had a nice cologne. I am so sorry, I said when I looked up only to be met with the guy who was with Philip earlier. And what is he doing in the ladies' bathroom? No problem. He chuckled. I wanted to make my way around him, only to get stopped by him. I raised an eyebrow, giving him a confused look. You are Maria, right? Yeah, I am. You? He chuckled. You don't remember me? He asked. Am I supposed to know you? Why, you are. A week ago, in a nightclub, you had this red dress on and then both of us started dancing together. He trailed off sand. I eventually caught up to what he was saying. Oh my God, he is the one night stand. You ran away. I expected you to still be in bed by the time I came out of the bathroom, but you were gone. Yeah, it was a one-night stand, I reminded him. Besides, I was drunk and I never do that type of stuff. Just wanted to take my mind off things. Can we get out of here? To talk about some stuffs? He asked. Number. I eyed him before I made my way around him. And thankfully he did not stop me this time. I came back outside only to find Jo already waiting for me. She gave me the, what the hell is happening look. I sighed as I took my seat opposite her. Spill it. She always knew whenever I was hiding something. Apparently that other guy with Philip turns out to be the guy I had a one-night stand with. I groaned as I massaged my temples. Wait, what? You heard me. I placed my head on her table. I was perfectly fine, not knowing who the guy was. So you are saying, you had sex with Philip's younger brother, Jake? Philip's younger brother? And his name is Jake? Nice name. From what I have told you. Yes. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. It was just a one-night stand. A meaningless sex. Nothing is going to happen. Jo sighed as she slumped on her chair. You look so tired, she pointed out. Yes, I am. I sighed. I guess I have to go home now. Feeling sick, a lot worse than last week. You have been sick since last week, and how did I not know about this? She stretched across the table to hit my head. Ouch. I rubbed the spot where she hit me only to be met with her grinning face. I did not want you to worry about me. I am meant to always worry about you. We are going to the hospital tomorrow for test. You need to know exactly what is going on with you. You know, I hate hospitals. Who doesn't? She arched an eyebrow at me. I sighed. Giving up already. She was the mom between both of us. Okay, I rolled my eyes. Yes, Mom. I added, making both of us burst into laughter. I decided to head back home, and maybe take a nap, then wake up later, and continue my new book. Throughout the car ride home, my mind went back to Jake, and he told me he wanted to talk about some stuffs. What exactly could he want to talk about? I have been postponing our visit to the hospital for a week and a half now, and I guess Jo was already catching up to what I was doing. I am presently on my second bowl of chocolate ice cream and third pack of Oreos. The strange mood swings and crying during romance movies was becoming too much. Well, that was what was happening when Jo said she already had enough of my crap. We are going to the hospital. I was about to look for another excuse when she cut me off. Now, Miss Hudson, can I see you? The doctor asked, and then made his way back into the room he came from. Should I follow you? Jo asked. You know you don't have to ask me that. I gave her a small smile. Truth was, I was nervous and scared a little. What if it was something bad? Your test results are out and... He handed me a white envelope. You are pregnant 2 weeks, he said as he grinned at me. Holy shit, holy shit. That was what was running through my head as soon as we left the hospital with my test result. Holy shit. That was what was running through my head as I thought of what my parents and grandparents were going to think of me. I cannot have a child. I am barely an adult myself. My mind was not on what Jo was rambling about when we were in the car. I was very far away. My mind had already wandered away. Well, that was before she tapped me. Maria? Are you listening to me? Sorry, what were you saying? I had a confused look on my face. I said, Are you going to tell Jake about the child? He is obviously the owner of the child. I don't know. I shook my head as I felt tears at the rim of my eyes. What are my parents going to say? I don't know, she shrugged. They will have to accept you and your child anyways, and don't even think of aborting that baby. She gave me a firm look, even if she didn't tell me that. I was not planning on abortion. Ever. What if I tell Jake and he doesn't accept the child? I asked, fear already gnawing at me. Then. I will kick his ass. She shrugged, as if it was no big deal, and then I will be the best aunt this child has ever been. She grinned, making me smile a little. Thank you. I smiled sincerely at her, tears already at the rim of my eyes threatening to fall. Don't go all soft on me now. She hit my arm slightly, making both of us chuckle. When we got home, Joe offered to order some Chinese while I went inside my room to change my cloth. Today has been a long day with the most shocking news I've ever heard. I removed the top I was wearing and stood at the front of the full-length mirror, in my black bra resting on my white wall. I sighed as I placed my hands on my stomach. There was a little baby growing inside of me. The thought alone made me grin, and then my thoughts shifted to the reaction I was going to receive from my parents when I tell them, making me burst into tears. I spent about 7 minutes crying and pacing around the room thinking of an excuse to not see them for 9 months straight. But even if I eventually find a reasonable excuse, my mom will not buy it, and she is going to come all the way from Paris to this place. I am so screwed. I removed my jeans and then opened my closet and put on the gray Harvard sweater that has been sitting in my wardrobe since the time I have graduated. Yes, I went to Harvard. I tied my hair into a rough bun, made my way into the bathroom, and rinsed my face with my face soap and water. I placed my hands in the both sides of the sink and sighed. I picked the small pink towel that was placed carelessly by probably Joe on the bathroom door and used it to wipe my face clean. I gave myself a fake smile and made my way back downstairs to my best friend, before she brings her ass up here herself to find me mopping around. When I got downstairs, Joe was already seated at the front of the TV watching Lucifer Season 3. Do not tell me you started before me. What? You were taking too long upstairs, she defended herself. I rolled my eyes as I took my seat beside her on the floor and then picked a pack of Chinese food. Thank you, I said, referring to the food. So, what has happened? She filled me in on what I have missed since she started. Okay. Got it. I took the remote and we both resumed watching the movie. If you have something to say to me, just say it and stop staring at me. She cleared her throat. If you need help with telling Jake, I can help you, she offered. I do not need his help. I am fine. He doesn't need to know. What if he eventually finds out about the kid? Then let that time come. I shrugged, still paying attention to the movie. Are you sure? You do not need his help? She asked me again. I am super duper sure that I do not need Jake's help, I replied. You got to admit, you have a hot baby daddy. She wiggled her eyebrows at me. I frowned my face at her. He is not my baby daddy, and then continued the movie. Well, technically he is. I gave her a bored look. You are not going to admit it now, but he is. Please promise me you won't tell him what is going on. I faced her. I can't promise you that. Why won't you need his help? You are only 23. I would tell him when I think he needs to know. And when is that, please? She arched her perfectly shaped eyebrow at me. I shrugged, putting more food in my mouth. I don't know. So just promise me you won't. Okay. But no promises. Thank you. I nodded, giving her a small smile as we both continued the movie in peace. Well, until Joe dozed off and I had to wake her sleepy ass so she would not wake up with a backache the next morning, I decided that I was going to call my parents and tell them tomorrow, the earlier the better, in which they would tell my cousins, aunts, uncles, and grandparents. And then the whole house would be on my neck about the pregnancy, and they will obviously want to know who the father is. I am so screwed. Okay, babe. See you later. Joe pulled me into a tight hug before she made her way out of the house to work the next morning. Bye, I replied, but she was already out of the door, so she couldn't hear me. I decided to bake a cake. Chocolate cake to be exact, since I did not have anything to do. And I have not called my parents. I have been chickening out of it any time I want to. Am I the only one who doesn't eat any other cake apart from chocolate? I baked about 2 chocolate cake and fruit punch, then kept them inside out refrigerator. I made my way up the stairs into my room, and then carried my laptop from my dressing table to the bed in order to at least write something. Your flight has been shifted to Sunday. My mom called to tell me on Friday evening. No problem, I replied as I was zipping the bag full of my clothes and other necessary items I planned on taking along with me to Paris. So, you are no longer going tomorrow? Joe asked me when I plopped down on the couch. He her as I opened the bag of Skittles. That is exactly why I just told you now, I replied her, even though my mouth was full of Skittles. She shrugged. I am just trying to confirm. I rolled my eyes and then picked up my phone from the couch beside me when I heard a ding. It was a message, but from an unknown number. Hi. The text read. I tried racking my brain trying to remember if I gave anyone my phone number. But no one came to my mind. Hi, I replied back. Who is this, please? I added the please in order not to seem rude. It took about 2 minutes before I heard the ding again. Jake, immediately. I read the text. I turned to Joe with an angry look. You gave Jake my number. He wanted to cut my head off if I didn't give it to him, she exclaimed. And I need my precious beautiful head. She shrugged as she put more chips into her mouth. You could have asked me first. There was no time to do that. The next thing, I heard about 3 dings. Look, Maria, there is something you need to know about the other night. I did not use a condom, and I am wondering if you were on your pills. What? I exclaimed, my eyes wide as I read the texts he sent to me. This motherfucker who doesn't use a condom when sleeping with a stranger. This is all his fault. What is wrong? Joe asked me as she collected the phone from my hand and read the same texts. Damn. She frowned. But I thought you always use your pills, she asked me as she handed me back the phone. I stopped using them about 2 months ago. That is bad. Do you think he is suspecting I am pregnant? I asked Joe as I dropped the phone on the couch. I don't know, probably, she shrugged. And aren't you meant to start going for your antenatal programs? I will. Once I come back from Paris? Same hospital? Yes, I answered, and then dipped the Skittle inside my chocolate-flavored ice cream. Isn't that gross? Joe's face morphed into disgust as she watched me eat my snacks, if you can still call it that. Nope. I dipped another one into the ice cream before throwing it into my mouth. You should try it. No. I am good. She shook her hand and continued eating her chips. Whatever. Do you want to come to the movies? With myself? And Philip? Yourself? And Philip? YH. Are we talking about another Philpy? Or the same Philip? Your boss? She rolled her eyes at me and then, yes, my boss, the one you dated, and you are both still fucking. Yes. She dragged the yes, making it song like yes. That one. Wow. He asked me out on a movie night. She shrugged. No big deal. I can tell it is a very big deal for her because she really loved Philip, and she never told me why she broke up with him anyway. The way Philip still looks at her, and the way she looks at him when they think no one is noticing, still confirms they still both love each other, but they are too egotistical to admit it to themselves. So, it is a date? I grinned at her, knowing that is going to irritate her. No, it is not a date, she frowned. It looks like it to me. I shrugged, closing the argument. So, are you coming or not? She asked me as she stood up from the couch and moved into the kitchen, probably to pour herself a cup of apple juice, or the whole thing. I thought about it for a while. Is Jake going to be there? I asked. Well, I have to be careful. I am definitely not ready to see him. Especially after what he just told me. Who doesn't use a condom when sleeping with a drunk lady? I don't know. I looked back at her. I don't think so. She shrugged. Philip said he is out on a business trip, so he should be out by tomorrow. She came back with a cup of apple juice and a cup of orange juice. Thank you. I grinned as I collected the cup from her. Then if that is what is going to happen, yes, I'll come. You don't mind being the third wheel? It is not exactly a third wheel, since both of you refuse to get back together. I shrugged, taking a sip of my juice. Right, she replied, chewing her chips loudly. Can you stop that? Stop what? The way you are chewing your chips. How am I chewing them? She gave me a confused look. Loudly, I answered plainly, this is how I have been eating them. For the past 1 hour. Yes. She rolled her eyes. Please, don't distract me from this movie. Aren't we meant to be in need by now? I groaned as I checked the time. 45 minutes past 2. You are the pregnant one between both of us, so you should be in bed. You are the dumb one between both of us, so you should be in bed. I spat back at her. Whatever. I hate this girl. I groaned when I saw the main character in the movie we were watching burst into tears. Who? Jo asked, as she made herself comfortable on the couch by placing her own legs over my thighs. Elena. Obviously. Why would you hate Elena? She is a fan of the character. I do not know why. I prefer Catherine, to be honest. Catherine is a bitch. Plus, they are the same character, but different personalities. I replied, putting a slice of chicken pizza into my mouth, my favorite. Jo had the good idea of ordering the pizza around midnight, though she ordered the cheese pizza for herself. She claims we both have been eating chicken pizza since the beginning of this year, and doesn't want to start pooing chicken. Who says that type of stuff? Elena is a crybaby, but Catherine is a bad bitch. But still, I prefer Elena. You always make the worst choices. I chuckled, says the best friend who got knocked up. She laughed, making me hit her thighs and throwing them off mine. I am kidding, she said as she was laughing while I was stuffing my face with pizza. We are in this together, babe. She pulled me into a bone-crushing hug. Can quote T.Bretha. I struggled to say, and then she finally released me. You know I love you, bish. She pulled both of my cheeks, grinning. I love you too. I replied, grinning back. You should go to sleep. I will clean up. I can help? I offered. Nah, it is fine. It will help me take my mind off stuffs. She always cleans whenever something is bothering here. She can re-clean the whole house like twice. It happened when Herslef and Philip broke up. Okay, good night. Night. I stood up from the couch and then made my way up to my room. Wake the fuck up, sleepyhead. I hit Jo's pillow on her head. I have been trying to wake her up for the past 15 minutes, because Philip has been ringing her phone since all this while, and all she keeps saying is, 5 more minutes, with her face buried inside her other pillow. Come on. I groaned as I sat down on her bed and rested my head on her back. I give up. Okay. I am up. She raised her head from her pillow as she used her hands to clear her eyes. Finally. I stood up from the bed and placed the pillow back to where I picked it up from. I still need more sleep. I frowned. Do not even think about it. Philip has been ringing your phone. Thanks. I will call him back, she replied as she sat up in her bed, picking the phone from the bedside table. And please have your bath, so we won't be late, I reminded her. Will do. Do you think I should wear this dress? Jo asked me as she stared at her reflection in the long-lengthed mirror in her room. I seriously do not know why you are bothering yourself. I looked back at her. You said it is not a date, so why are you so affected with how you look? She rolled her eyes at me before replying. I have to look good for myself because, or, you have to look good for Philip, I pointed out as I added the last final touch to my perfectly painted nails. Philip? She asked, putting off the yellow strapless sundress. Yes, Philip, but that looks good on you. You just have to wear a jean jacket on it and look for pretty sandals to go with it. Are you sure? She asked, frowning. Yes. She shook her head. I do not trust your fashion sense. Let me try out some other clothes. We both laughed. She is actually right. She is the one with the better fashion sense. Ouch. I stood up from the bed and made my way downstairs to the kitchen, in order to take a pack of Oreos. Because I knowing how Joe wastes time in the clothes section. She is too picky. Do you think this one is nice? She asked me, once I returned back to her room with the pack of oars in my hand. I shrugged because I know if I tell her how I feel about the dress, even if she looks pretty in anything she wears, she'll still remove the cloth. You are of no help. She groaned, as she removed the boyfriend jeans and the huge sweater she was wearing. I know. I replied, stuffing oars into my mouth. Remember, I have no fashion sense. I repeated what she said the last time to me. Shut up. After about 6 more trials of changing clothes, she finally decided to wear the strapless sundress I agreed on from the beginning. You are weird, I told her when she was strapping up her white sandals, and then picked up her blue jean jacket. She did a final touch to her makeup, mascara and lip gloss then. You are the weird one. She replied back, whatever. Let's go, before Philip starts blowing up your phone again. Immediately I said that a call from Philip came through from her phone. We are on our way. She whispered into the phone as she dragged me down the stairs, but carefully, cause I guess she remembered I was carrying a baby. I do not know why he is making a big deal out of this. She rolled her eyes and then started her car, then zoomed off to Philip's place. We're here. Joe sighed as she stopped the car at the front of the water fountain in the middle of Philip's house. Thank goodness. I want to use the bathroom, I sighed, getting out. You used the bathroom twice before we left the house. She reapplied her lip balm, then made her way towards me as we both joined our arms together, and then knocked on the brown mahogany door. This place looks better than the last time I was here, I complimented as I looked around the house. Philip's house was not all huge, but big enough. The last time I was here was when he hosted a birthday party for Joe, the time they were both dating. They were like the perfect couple I knew, and they had been together for 4 years, way before Joe even started working in his company. But whenever I bring up the topic of asking her what happened between both of them, she always sidesteps the question. All I know, Philip really loved her, and she loved him. And the last time being my birthday party? She asked, as she knocked the door again. Yeah, the door opened to reveal a grinning Philip and Jake. Jake was here. I thought Joe told me he was not going to be home. What the fuck is he doing here? I whispered through my teeth as I pulled Joe closer. Philip hugged both of us as he welcomed us into his house, with Jake and himself leading the way. I thought you said he was not coming? I pulled Joe back so the guys would not hear what we were talking about. That was what Philip told me. She whispered back, this is a huge mess. I groaned. It can't be that bad, she said, and we started walking behind the boys' back. It is going to be very bad. I do not want to see him at all. I planned on seeing him, well, maybe after I come back from Paris. I did not know my voice was already loud that the boys could hear what I was saying. You are going to Paris? Philip asked as myself, and Joe settled on the US couches. Himself and Jake made their way into the kitchen, probably to pick up some stuffs. I have some stuffs to take care of with my parents. Oh. I heard him reply from the kitchen. This is bad, I said to Joe again quietly, and then moved to sit with her. Philip and Jake both returned from the kitchen, with all sorts of yummy things on the tray they were both carrying. What is a movie night or afternoon? He chuckled since we were in the afternoon. Without something to eat, they placed their trays on the table, and then moved to setting to the movie. Oh, Janet, I have not introduced you to Jake, my stepbrother. He smiled as he placed his arms around Jake. Stepbrother? I heard Joe voice out what I was thinking. She looked over to Philip with a confused expression. Yeah. I told you, right? Number you told me. He was your brother. Well, technically he is. Philip shrugged. I could feel Jake's eyes on me while time. And I finally allowed myself to look at him. He was putting on a teal-green V-neck top and an already obvious washed-out blue jeans. He still looked good, though. My eyes flickered to him, and then blue eyes met his honey-brown own. They are so beautiful, I thought, and then hit myself. I should not think of his eyes as beautiful. It is nice to meet you, I said lowly, and then cleared my throat, as I asked Joe for the direction to the toilet. I ended up using one of the toilet upsolders because the ones downstairs need repair. I used the toilet, flushed, and then rinsed my hands by the sink as I dried them up with my jeans. I sighed as I looked at myself in the mirror, and then my eyes flickered to my stomach. I am pregnant with Jake's child and he doesn't know it. I felt kind of bad for keeping something like this from him. Well, since I was already here, I might as well just tell him and get it over with. Do I want him to accept the child? I question myself. Of course I do. I want my child to grow up knowing he has a father figure. Jake seems like a nice guy, but what if he doesn't accept the child? Another question popped into my mind. It would be hard to deal with, but I know I have Joe by my side to go through it. I looked at myself in the mirror one more time before I decided to head out. When were you going to tell me you are pregnant? Even though I have not heard him talk a lot of times, I knew that voice. What he said made me halt in steps. Joe? I am going to fucking kill Joe, she told him. She promised not to. She is so dead by the time I see her. I turned around to face Jake only to see a friend marring his face. You knew all this while that you were pregnant and didn't think I should know about it. I could definitely hear the anger in his voice. Look, it is not my fault. You didn't use a condom when we did whatever happened. I crossed my arms around my chest. Because you told me not to. He moved closer to me. He looked angry though. I did? I was obviously drunk. Why would you listen to me? I stopped using my pills about a month or 2 months ago. How did you expect me to know that? I sighed as I rolled my eyes. Okay. You know I am carrying your child. What do you want to do now? I can take care of my child myself. Firstly, he raised up a finger. Our child, that is our child. He pointed between us. And secondly, move in with me. Move in with you? I asked confused. You do not expect me to move in with you because I am carrying our child. I corrected myself before he could point it out again. I only want you to move in with me because of the child, he said, shrugging. I am perfectly fine on my own. I can take good care of both of us, I said through gritted teeth. Who the hell does this guy think he is, coming here to claim the child and myself? I am so not moving in with a stranger. Who knows? He can be a serial killer. Serial killer? Really, my subconscious mocked me. Don't blame me. I have been watching crime documentaries. Why are you so stubborn? He asked as he rested on the wall, and then started playing with the ring on his finger. Why are you such a dick? I countered back. You are a stranger. I can't move in with you final. You and I both know. I am not a stranger, at least not anymore. Bazood, what are your family going to say about being pregnant now? Or do you parents know about this? He smirked, making him hotter. Wait, what? Maria, get your mind out of the gutter. Okay. Fair point. My mom will kill me if I told her it was a one-night stand that led to this. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction he was looking for, so I lied. Yes, they know about what is going on. Joe told me you are leaving for Paris tomorrow. Please do not tell me she blabbered all my secrets to this guy. I am, I said plainly, and she said, you want to talk about matters relating to the pregnancy with your family? At least she didn't tell him the whole story about that one. I nodded. Yeah, I can come if you want, he offered. It is very sweet of him to be so calm about the news of one of his nightstand being pregnant for him, but I can take care of myself and the baby. No, Jake. Please, can we talk about this pregnancy stuff when I come back from Paris? I can't really think right now, I asked him. It took some time before he could reply. Sure, he said, looking down. Thank you. It came out in form of a whisper, and then I left him standing in the hallway. I know I should not be this harsh on him because honestly, from everything that has happened, it is both our fault. I shouldn't have gone to the club or had too much drink, and he should not have listened to me when I told him not to use a condom. I would probably fix things with him when I get back from Paris. Like the adult I am, really. You think you are an adult, my subconscious mocked me again. Of course. PFFT. I rolled my eyes at my subconscious as I made my way towards the living room. I met Joe and Philip eating up each other's faces. I thought they said they are no longer dating. I cleared my throat with my arms still crossed around my chest as I made myself noticeable. My voice probably startled both of them because Joe let out a small scream as she backed away from Philip and then tried to put her down back in place. I frowned my face at her and then gave her a head sign to meet me in the kitchen. You told Jake about the pregnancy and then told him I was going to Paris? I asked immediately she entered the kitchen looking all flushed and all, I am sorry. I am sorry. He came to the office telling me he really needed to talk to you, and then I just blurt out the pregnancy news. But you could have told me he came over to your office. I said, my voice already turning soft. I could not stay mad at her for a long time. I know. She sighed as she moved closer to me. I just thought it was better if you didn't know anything about it. She held my hands in hers as she shrugged. I sighed. I am sorry, I shouted at you. I pulled her into a hug. I am sorry, I didn't keep your secret. She returned the hug. It is fine. I reassured her with a small smile as we both pulled away from the hug. So, Philippa? I wiggled my eyebrows at her and she just rolled her eyes. It was a mistake. She chuckled. We were talking about some stuffs and then it led to our relationship and then bam, he kissed me. And you kissed him back, I grinned at her. I still do not understand why you guys broke up. You never told me anyways. It doesn't matter. We are not getting back together. I guess she was trying to reassure herself with what she said. Not me. The movies with Philip and Jake was very nice. At a point I got comfortable with Jake and some other time it was awkward and all. After about 3 movies and then both the boys taking out to eat, myself and Joe decided it was time to go home. The boys bade us goodbye as we were leaving. Today wasn't that bad? Joe said as she turned on the radio of my car grinning. Yeah. I agreed, smiling. Soon. Begging by Maneskin came on with myself, and Joe singing along loudly. Beer? Ear? Ear. 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 Who the fuck owns that stupid alarm? I groaned as I sat uprightly on my bed and saw a pink alarm on my bedside table. I can't remember setting an alarm. Joe probably did. I thanked her silently as I stood up from my bed and then made my way to the bathroom. I sighed as I stared at my reflection in the mirror. My hair was all over the place, looking like a bird nest. I picked up my blue toothbrush from the white cup that held other brushes and my toothpaste. After about 15 minutes I was done in the bathroom. I opened my closet to pick up what to wear. It was hard deciding the clothes to pick, so I finally settled on a boyfriend jeans and a blue top. After dressing up, doing my hair and then applying my mascara and lip gloss, I made my way downstairs only to find Joe already eating. Thanks for the alarm. No problem. She gave me a small smile as she continued eating her food. I served my breakfast into my plate. Bacon, and egg. We are in a comfortable silence. And then when I was packing up the dishes to wash, Joe spoke up. When are you coming back? Probably Wednesday. It came out more like a question because I was not sure. Okay? She replied. When I was done with the dishes I went up to my room and then carried my duffel bag. I made sure I was not forgetting anything and then made my way back downstairs. I'll miss you. Joe pulled me into a hug when I was about to enter the cab that will take me to the airport. Same here, bitch. We both chuckled. Regards to your mom and hot brother. She winked. YH, sure. I laughed. Bye. She gave a little wave as I entered the cab. Bye. Now, I have to plan the lie I was going to tell my family concerning the owner of the child. The flight took about 7 hours and 15 minutes. I spent my time on the flight writing my book, listening to music, watching movies and eating. At least that did not go to waste. In no time I was out of the airplane and making my way towards the arrival entrance of the airport. I tried looking for my mom but could not find her. Hey Mom. I answered the phone when I heard it ring from my back pocket. I am so sorry, baby. I would not be able to make it. Your older cousin, Alexander, is going to come pick you up, okay? Okay. I nodded alongside Eve if I know she couldn't see me. He is already on his way. Just 10 more minutes. No problem, I responded. She hung up the call, I sighed as I picked up my bag and then looked for somewhere comfortable to sit. I texted Joe that my flight already landed, and I would soon get to my parents' place. I waited for about 2 minutes but no reply from her. I waited patiently for Alexander, and about 7 minutes later I heard a ding from my phone. Big cousin. Already outside the airport. The text read, I picked up my bag and then made my way out of the airport. Immediately I got out through the entrance. I could see him and his large frame. He has always been easy to spot out among people. Alexander has this large bulky frame with tattoos covering his whole left arm, and he is a solid 6'4". I can remember when he got his tattoo, his mom flipped out on him, while his dad thought it was cool. I thought you would have grown a little mushroom. He picked me up easily from the ground and then twirled me around, making me chuckle. And you are still the same height since I last saw you. I replied, grinning, looking up at him, but still taller than you. He winked as he grabbed my bag from me, and then started walking towards his car, which I could identify as a black 2020 Lexus ES. New car? I asked as I fastened my seatbelt. Nah, he replied, starting up the car and then zooming off. We were in a half-awkward silence and half-comfortable silence for a while before he talked. So you were pregnant? I could see his smirk from the corner of my mouth. I smacked my palm on my forehead. Don't tell me she told the whole family, I asked, groaning. You know how your family are. He chuckled. I am so dead. I sighed as I placed my head against the window. It can't be that bad, he shrugged. At least you know the father. It was not a question, but it came off more like a question. Of course I do. Then, you are safe, I think. I seriously do not understand why she is taking this in a big way. I am 23 already, I complained. Your mom can be a little too strict. But, a little? I cut him off. Hell nah, she is a whole lot strict. Okay. She can be very strict, but she still wants the best for you, he explained. He made a turn into a familiar road. And I knew we would soon be home. Remember that time I got this tattoo? He asked me, smiling. Your mom was the one who begged for me to stay in the house when my mom almost killed me. We both laughed at the memory. Really? Yeah, so who is the father of your unborn child? He out-emphasized of the child. I rolled my eyes at him before explaining everything that happened. Well, I made him swear not to say anything to anyone, or else I'd chop his balls off in his sleep. At least he wants to take responsibility. He shrugged. Jace seems like a good guy. Jake. I corrected him for the 5th time. Jake, not Jace. We both laughed again as he parked his car in the right spot. Finally home. Whatever. Both names are starting with a J and ending with a E, right? I got down from the passenger's seat and then made my way to carry my bag from the back seat. I can't believe Mom made me come home. I sighed as we both stood at the front of the white door leading to my death sentence. J'espère que, grand mendra, ne s'evanouira pas cette fois. I hope Grandma didn't faint this time. He knocked on the door. What? I chuckled. That is a story for another time. He said before. I saw my aunt at the front of me grinning from ear to ear. Matrais chidra Maria. My dearest Maria. She pulled me into a hug, rocking me from side to side. I pulled away from her embrace, smiling a little. Don't get me wrong. It feels good to be home, but I would have felt better if it was another account. Hey, Aunt Pauline. I smiled at her. Look at you now. At least you've added a little weight. She laughed. Yeah. New York is treating me great. Come in. Come in. She collected my bag from my hand, and then we all entered into the house. Are you sure they know about what happened? I whispered to Alexander quietly, because it does not look like that at all. Trust me, they know what is going on. Maybe they just decided to keep it low. He whispered back. I am so screwed. I groaned. Once we entered the general living room, everyone turned to me with huge grins on their face, and then proceeded to greet me one after the other. I met my 2 other cousins, Gabrielle and Gabriel. Nope, they are not twins. Then little Hugo. Gabriel's 5 years old, jumped into my arms. Hey boy. I grinned as I pinched his cheeks lightly. Aunt Maria. The last time I saw him was when he was turning 3. and I am still surprised he can still remember my name. Ah, sharp like his parents. Gabrielle is married to one of the most famous architects in Paris. She said they met through one of her fellow nurse who invited her for a dinner. That was how she met Luca. He is a really busy person, as I have known him to be. But whenever he has time, he always makes sure he spend the time with his family. I greeted my two aunts. Pauline is the aunt from my mother's side, and also Alexander's mom, while Elizabeth is the aunt from my dad's side, and also Gabrielle and Gabrielle's mother. How is New York treating you? Aunt Elizabeth grinned at me as she pulled me into a hug. Just hanging in here. I gave her a small smile. Gabriel. I nodded my head at him, and he greeted me the same way. Myself and Gabriel never really got along that well, even though he was older with a year and a half. Our vibe just never really clicked like it did with Gabriella and Alexander. Though Alexander is my favorite cousin, we all have favorite cousins, right? Why don't you go upstairs into your room and then settle down? Aunt Pauline asked. Sure. I am sure you must be very tired. By the time you wake up, dinner would have been ready by then, and your mom and grandparents would be around by then. She told me. No problem. I carried my bag and then made my way upstairs into my bedroom. I switched on the light when I entered the room, 'cause it was pretty dark. My room was painted white, and then had LED lights around the corners of the room. The room was neat and very tidy, but it was obvious someone has been sleeping in here. I dropped my bag on the bed, opened it, and then arranged my stuffs into where they are meant to be. By the time I was done, I was exhausted, even though it didn't take a long time. I plopped on the bed and then brought out my phone to respond to Joe's text. Joe. Have you seen your parents? Me. Nah. They are not around alongside with my grandparents. Joe. Oh. I need to tell you something, Maria. I was already tired. And feeling sleepy. Me. Please, can it wait? I need to take a nap now. Joe. Okay. Later then. I threw my phone somewhere on the bed. And then fell asleep. Maria, Maria, Maria. I heard Gabriel's voice calling my name. I groaned as my vision cleared to see him hovering above me. Come on. Dinner is ready, and everyone is waiting for you on the table. He said. Okay. I sat uprightly on the bed. I'll be right down now, I told him, and then he nodded as he left my room. I went into the bathroom, and then rinsed my face. Here goes nothing, I thought as I made my way downstairs into the dining room. Immediately, I got into the dining room. My dad smiled at me, and I smiled back at him. Hey, Dad. I gave him a smile. Hey, Mom. I took a seat beside Gabrielle and then greeted my grandparents. Where is Alexander? I asked Gabrielle. He had to go home to his wife, she explained. Oh. I nodded in reply. How was I going to face the whole family without Alexander? I served myself some spaghetti and meatballs. We prayed before we all started eating. The table was quiet, just filled with sounds of Hugo scrapping his plate, trying to get the spaghetti on his fork. His mom laughed before she gave him a smaller fork, and then fed him. I heard my mom clear her throat. So Maria, clear to explain how you got pregnant. Starright to the point as always. Everyone on the table turned to look at me. Their stares held expectation for what I wanted to say. What was I going to tell her? I obviously cannot say I got pregnant, 'cause I had a stupid one-night stand. I trailed off as I started fidgeting on my seat. I cleared my throat. Through sex? My mom glared at me, while Gabriel tried his hardest to stop himself from choking on his water. Okay, that was probably not the smartest thing to say. We do not have all the time here, young lady. She glared at me. I am so screwed, Marianne. I think you should calm down. My grandmother placed her hand over my mom's own. She just arrived today. Why don't you let her enjoy her dinner this night? And talk about anything but the pregnancy. Then tomorrow we can all talk about this. Fine, my mom replied. I released a breath of relief as I became comfortable on my seat. The tension in the room cleared, and then Luca asked me a question about how the road of New York was. That was how we all switched topics. Maria, Please check who is at the door for me. Okay. I stood up from the couch I was cuddled up in with Luca where we were watching SpongeBob SquarePants. It is probably Alexander and his wife. They are coming to stay over this night. My mom said as she cleaned up the kitchens. I put on my flip-flops and then made my way to the door to open the door. You know my mom almost ate my head. I paused mid-sentence when I saw it was not Alex at the door. You have got to be kidding me. What is he doing here? Jake and I were about 7 minutes late to dinner, and by the time we got home, almost the whole family was seated on the table, talking about whatever knows what. Well, apart from Alexander and his wife. I am sure you can already tell, my mom told the whole family that Jake is my boyfriend. Can she not just keep something a secret? Jake got comfortable around my family quickly, and no one seemed to notice the absence of chemistry, or whatever it is called, between both of us. Jake sat beside Aunt Pauline, while I took my seat beside him. Mom already prepared one of her sweet delicacies. She always preferred to be alone in the kitchen whenever she wants to prepare a meal. That is why no one ever helps her in the kitchen. I guess I took my baking skills from her though. Why don't we say a prayer? My dad suggested, and we all murmured in agreement as we joined out hands together. Gabriella, Father, we bless you for giving us our daily bread. May angels from the north, east, west, and south protect us. She said the prayer smiling. Amen. We all said one after the other, and then released our hands. Then Jake looked over to me with this look in his eyes. I could not decipher it, so... Jake, how did yourself and Maria meet each other? I heard my grandmother ask as she poured herself a cup of water. I groaned internally cause if he didn't have to tell my mom he was my boyfriend, all these won't be happening. He looked over at me and I shrugged at him. Was he expecting me to help him? Hell nah, he will solve this one on his own. I was about to take a spoon out of my food when the doorbell rang. Aunt Elizabeth was about to get up and get the door when I told her not to bother. Do not worry. I will go and check who is at the door. I told her as I stood up and she gave me a grateful smile. That should be Alexander and his wife, Grace, by the door. Grace and Alexander have been married for 3 years now, and they are expecting their bouncing baby boys. Yes, boys, they are both going to be having twins. Ah, I cannot wait for those kids to get here. I will be the best aunt they can ever wish for. Hey, little mushroom. As soon as I opened the door, that was what he said to me as he grabbed me up from the floor. Again, while his wife was just chuckling and then came in for her own hug. I honestly do not get why he calls me little mushroom. I grinned at her. I am like a 5'2". I said, proud of my height. She laughed, and then wrapped her arms around mine as I lead her into the dining room where everyone was seated. And he is a 6'5", whatever. I rolled my eyes and then she took a seat beside my grandmother, while Jay went back to my seat beside Jake. How is my favorite wife doing? My grandmother asked, as she pulled Grace's face in closer, and then pecked her 2 cheeks, grinning from ear to ear. I am doing great. Grace answered, grinning back at her. Where is your husband? Aunt Pauline asked, Alexander's mom. We left him at the door. He should be here any minute. Maybe he went to get our stuffs from the car. As soon as she said that, Alexander came into the dining room. And when he noticed Jake sitting beside me, he raised an eyebrow while I shook my head at him. Hey, Ma. He greeted his mom and then gave her a peck on the cheek. He greeted everyone on the table, and then took a seat next to me. I did not know you had a boyfriend, he asked once he sat down serving himself. Oh, Jake is. I was about to blow our cover when Jake cut me off. It is nice to meet you. He gave Alex a small smile, and then stretched his hand for a handshake in which Alex took in his. I am Jake, Maria's boyfriend, Alexander. But you can call me Alex. They both introduced themselves even though I was at their middle. So, for how long have you been dating? My eyes widened at the question. Alex asked Jake and he noticed. He already knew Jake was not my boyfriend since I already told him what happened. 2 years. Jake lied smoothly, like he had it all planned out. Nice. Alex nodded his head, and then his attention was back to his food. Aunt Pauline asked Jake something, and both of them were already in a conversation. I looked around the table, and each one of my family had smiles on their faces. It feels so good to be home. He is a good really liar. Alex said to me laughing. A little so no one would hear. Tell me about it. I rolled my eyes. He seems like a nice guy. Why does everyone keep saying that? Because he seems like one, he replied as he shrugged. Whatever. By the time we get home, we would both look for a way to solve this, without both of us dating or pretending to be in a relationship. You guys would actually make a really cute couple. He laughed. Funny. I frowned as I ate my food. Funny thing. Co-parenting with him might not be actually that bad. Let the time the child comes out first come. I hate thinking about the future. I groaned, putting more food inside my mouth. Everyone continued chatting and laughing about all sorts of things. Myself, Gabriella and Aunt Pauline packed up the plates, and then I brought the chocolate cake. My mom already baked. Everyone had a slice on their plates while my mom and grandmother talked about my embarrassing moments to Jake, which was so embarrassing. If you ask me, there was this time we went to see a movie, and she insisted on watching the horror movie that was showing. My mom laughed. I could remember that day vividly, making me laugh a little. She should not sleep in her room alone for a month. Noted. No horror movies. He muttered under his breath. Gabrielle, when is your husband coming home? My grandfather asked. I do not know. I am not really sure about the date, but it is probably next month. She looked up from her phone. Oh God. We all heard the panic in Grace's voice, even if it was not that noticeable. What is wrong, baby? Alexander immediately stood up, and then knelt beside her. I think my water just broke. She looked at everyone in the room. The babies are coming.